All right. Live we go.
Okay.
And we should be live, so you can check it out.
All right. I've got it open up on my phone. Yeah, it says we're live here. Give me just a second here.
I see that
All
we've
right.
at least got.
Just a second here. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me put my earbuds in real quick to see how I sound. One moment. All right. Let me put my earbud. Okay. I'm just doing a quick audio test here. See how my microphone sounds.
Mike Gallagher, how are you, my friend? Thank you for joining us this evening. Hi, I'll say hi, Angie. Dana's preoccupied with doing sound tests. Happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we should be good. I think I've fixed all those problems, hopefully. So, hopefully now it's just a matter of, and now that I've actually got both my monitors back up, it's kind of nice because I can have stuff on the YouTube control center on one monitor, and uh, Mike just said he's doing pretty well. How about us? I'll be honest with you, Mikey. I'm having a tough day today. I'm not gonna like depress everybody, but it's been a bit of a down day for me. Dana, how about you?
You know, it's today was a good day. I woke up around I don't know, around 7 today and had coffee and you know, finished up the Terminator 3 edit and released that. Very excited about that episode. We've also, of course, got the fourth one recorded. Hey, Paul, welcome. And yeah, it's been a good day. Went to the grocery store, did my thing.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't. I watched. I ended up watching not yesterday, but the day before. I want to say 6, 7 movies. I didn't watch a single movie today. That might be part of why I'm so like bummed out. But did you see the greatest thing on the internet today, Dana? Which was the quarantine stunt people and their
No, I have
video.
not.
All right, so there is a video, and when if I was better at doing this, I could actually pull it up right now, but I'm not quite there yet. Where a bunch of quarantine stunt people did a video where one person, so like I'm here full screen, I punch at the camera, and then Dana, you're the second stunt person. They would like take it would cut, and they would take the hit, and that they would punch. And there's like 57 different stunt people in this
Oh, that's
video.
awesome.
It's on Twitter. I will actually make sure when we're done here to retweet it. So that everybody can see it. It was It was awesome. It was the one thing that absolutely put a smile on my face today.
Perfect.
So that was great.
I will check that. I'll definitely check that out. Mike Gallagher, I've been meaning to reach out to you. I um, got your text message the other day, and it was just buried in a bunch of other text messages, and I meant to text you back. I'm happy to do the show anytime you want to have me on. So just after we're done with the live stream, just reach out to me again, and we'll set that up.
Mike was
Mr.
all.
Lytle, how are you?
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, just saying hi to Paul. Yeah.
Hi, Paul. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Mike was also just recently on the Film Strip podcast from our friends Jay Skipworth and Hollywood Ron and Brian and everybody that's involved in that, doing a kind of talking about modern film criticism and how podcasting and social media has kind of changed that. And it was a really, really good episode. I haven't had a chance to tell you that, Mike, but I thought it was really fantastic. I enjoyed listening to it quite a bit. So if you haven't listened to that, first of all, if you're following us and you're not following both Amateur Auteurs and Film Strip, you're missing out on some good modern family film podcasts.
Oh. Well, let me say hello to Cinema Recall. Jason, how are you, my friend? Cinema Recall is a great podcast that I've had the opportunity to be a guest on, and I believe our episode is currently on his Patreon page, so definitely show them a little bit of love. Good to see you, Jason.
And
There's your boys.
My boy Jeff is here. Two Strike Noise. I do love that, like, except for Angie and Paul, our entire audience appears to be other podcasters. But I love
Oh,
that.
Hi, Dory. That's Dory Urell. That's Ken's wife. When I had Ken Urell on, that was like the last podcast that I did before all of this happened. Oh, okay. It says not. Okay, it says not. Is that you, Ken? And so that was the last podcast I did before all of this craziness happened. The last in-person interview that I did.
Right. Mike Galler. Oh, I'm guessing yes, that's Ken.
Okay.
Ken, thanks for joining us. Mike just said he's also doing an MCU rewatch. I have listened to the first episode of that. Again, it's pretty fantastic. Hi, Carmelita. Thanks for joining us. It's actually kind of weird. So I've got this little box here just to make sure, because sometimes with YouTube you lose the chat, and since this is a Q&A kind of chat, I've got this little box of all the chat that you see when you do the rewatch. And it's weird because it's actually popping up faster than my actual YouTube control center chat is popping up, which is not how it's supposed to work, but whatever, it's all good. Anyway,
I would like to say that that Ken Urell recommended to me a documentary the day that we recorded called Operation Odessa, which I was finally able to get around to watching today. And I just have to say, that was one of the most batshit crazy stories I've ever seen, and I cannot recommend that documentary enough. It's on Netflix now. If you haven't seen it, it's called Operation Odessa. It was fantastic.
Awesome. If anybody else has seen it, let us know. I've been on kind of an Indian movie bender of late, because, as everybody that's listened to me knows, I'm kind of an action junkie. And I will tell you, man, Indian cinema is doing some really impressive stuff with action lately. A lot. And what I like about it is so much of it is shot cleanly in wide shots where you can absolutely see, whether it's the actors or stunt people, you can see there's actual human beings doing the stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. There's two that I want to shout out really quick. They're streaming on Amazon Prime. Mardani and Mardani 2. They are some good old fashioned cop drama slash action movies. Really have kind of a nice 1970s vibe. And I really recommend both of them. I think they're pretty terrific.
I'm going to look. I'll definitely check this out. I just want to go back real quick. Paul said he snapped up Far From Home as it was on sale and rewatched it this past weekend, so I'm doing pretty good.
Paul and I don't necessarily quite see eye to eye on the Spider-Mans, but I do really like Far From Home. I thought that was a big improvement over Homecoming. I thought it was very good. Kay Rodriguez has joined us. Thanks for showing up for the party.
Yeah, it was nice what she said there. Good evening, gentlemen, and Dana.
We got a good turnout here tonight, which is nice. So that's good. As usual, I'm drinking, starting with the good whiskey, and then I move to the cheap stuff. So, it's how I roll.
And I'm, of course, doing coffee because that's all I've been doing during my 4.5 week self-isolation is drinking coffee.
Well, I think it's important to
day.
Understand that you're a healthy, well-adjusted individual, and I am a functioning alcoholic. But it is important to celebrate the functioning part of the term and not get too hung up on the alcoholic part. So that's a joke, folks. It's from Leverage, which is a great, great TV show. If you've never watched it, it's on Pluto TV. You can watch it for free now.
See, Jason Cinema Recall said he thought Paul was talking about the Todd Haynes movie, but that's Far From Heaven. My bad. Okay.
Which is also very good. Have not seen it in years. Have you ever seen Far From Heaven, Dana?
I don't think I have. No, that one's going to be... No, I don't think I have.
It's Dennis Quaid, and I can't remember who else, but it's basically Todd Haynes' homage to Douglas Sirk melodramas. One of the prettiest movies I think you will ever see.
Okay. All right. I will look for that. I, of course, reached out to you because on Saturday night, I did a double feature of American Ninja and American Ninja 2, The Confrontation. And I reached out to you the next day and was like, hey, so are 3 and 4 worth a watch? I haven't watched them yet. I'm going to because I'm going to be a completionist on this. But watching those inspired me this morning when I was having my coffee to watch Electric Boogaloo again, which I cannot say enough good things about that documentary. Electric Boogaloo, the story of Cannon Films is absolutely insane.
It's one of the best movie So the other one that I couldn't remember the last time we were doing this is Not Quite Hollywood. That's the first Mark Hartley one. And then he did Electric Boogaloo, and then he did Machete Maidens, and then he did Electric Boogaloo. And all three of them are three of the absolute best film documentaries I have ever seen. They are, if you want a crash course in like film history, watch all three of them. They're so terrific.
Not Quite Hollywood. Is that the one about Australian
Yeah,
cinema?
that's the exploitation one.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And then Machete Maidens is about Filipino exploitation cinema.
Okay. Let's go through some of these questions here. Kay Rodriguez says, Mike, Thomas Jane Punisher, awesome stuff. Oh, that's interesting. Can I just segue into what I was talking about before we started recording? Talking about Thomas Jane and Punisher. My very good friend, I can officially announce my very good friend, Phil Joanno, will be joining me in a couple days on the podcast. For those who don't know, Phil did do the Punisher Dirty Laundry short. Excuse me. He's also director of 3 O'Clock High, State of Grace, a lot of great stuff. It's been almost a year and a half since he's been on the show, so I'm really excited to welcome him back. And I just want to say real quickly hello to you, Danny. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, super exciting to have him come back. Let's see. Paul said Far From Home's the lesser of the two because Keaton's Vulture was amazing. He was, but also Gyllenhaal's Mysterio was pretty terrific. Kay said we all start with the good stuff and end up with the cheap shite. Yes, that is how life tends to go, at least for me.
If I can just real quick, I just want to listen. There's going to be a lot of shameless plugs going on today for the Dana Buckler show. I'm sorry. This is the reality of what it's going to be. Carmelita and I recorded a fantastic episode of one of the lockdown sessions. We recorded it yesterday, and it's going to be out tomorrow. So I just want to again say, Carmelita, thank you for doing the show. It was a fantastic conversation. That episode will be out tomorrow.
Man, I love the lockdown sessions. I'm a little jealous. I don't get to talk to all these people like you do. So, Carmelita, just reach out to me. I miss chatting with you on a regular basis. Mike Gallagher said he watched Bloodsport for the first time.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I would give anything to be able to watch Bloodsport for the first time. Obviously, that seems to have been pretty popular. I've actually, since it's on Netflix, I've kind of thought about doing a Netflix party for Bloodsport. So if I decide to do that, I will certainly let everybody here know because I think that's a perfect Netflix party movie. And you know, Bloodsport is certainly a favorite of both of ours.
I want to go back to something that Paul asked a question about. He said, I don't know if this has been asked in any of the chats I've missed, but Kevin Smith opinions. That's a very loaded question, Paul, and I think we're ready to unpack it. So, that being said, Mike, do you want to take it first, or do you want me to give a swing at it?
Go for it first.
I think Kevin Smith is... Boy, that's a tough one. I think some of the stuff he's done has been absolutely amazing. And then I think some of the other stuff he hasn't been as influential to me as some of his other stuff. That being said, if I was to do off-the-cuff top 5 Kevin Smith films in no particular order, I will say Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma. There's a little pattern here. These are all some of the older ones. I really like Clerks too. And one of his movies that I think is incredibly underrated and does not get enough attention is Red State. I think Red State is a phenomenal movie, and I think it's a phenomenal exercise in what to look of Kevin Smith doing drama all the way through. So, Michael, I'll ask you your opinions of Kevin Smith, but also, what did you think of Red State?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to find. There it is. It is. Um, Sorry, folks, bear with me. I apologize. This is good TV. Me clicking through my Letterboxd account here. I know that it's riveting drama for all of you. Is he gonna find the movie he's looking for? Um, we did it was volume 13 of the 20th Century Movie Club. You recommended Clerks because we did a theme of first movies, like debut movies from directors. And for those who are interested, there's a pretty good we kind of have a pretty good breakdown of what we think of Kevin Smith on that. But just to elaborate, I like Red State. I think I like it more because he was trying to do something different. But by and large, I like Kevin Smith. I think the biggest problem I have with Kevin Smith is he very much is a fan of Kevin Smith. And that can sometimes get a little annoying if you follow him on like Twitter and stuff like that. I love Clerks. For me, I've said always Mallrats is my favorite. I don't think it's his best movie, but with the risk of oversharing, Mallrats got me through a very difficult time in my youth, and so I will always love Mallrats for that. Chasing Amy, I liked better than I do now. I think out of some of his earliest movies, it's aged probably the poorest. It's still really well done and really well acted. He hasn't made a ton of good. I really gave Yoga Hosers and Tusk the ye old college try, and thought that they were really tough to get through. I kind of feel like Zach and Miri make a porno was kind of the last one that I enjoyed. I haven't seen Jay and Silent Bob reboot yet, though. Have you seen that yet, Dana?
I actually I haven't. I was going to pose that question to everybody watching if they've seen the Jay and Silent reboot because I've heard very mixed. Like I've heard very positive, that I've heard it's not worth your time. So I'd be curious what other people have to say about that.
I know it is streaming on Amazon Prime, so if you've got Prime, it's free. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I mean, I don't know. And on top of that, Kevin Smith directs a crap ton of CW shows now, and I've made it pretty clear I like the CW superhero shows, and he's really, whenever he directs one of those episodes, he is very, very effusive about the quality of the actors that he's working with on that show, and I think that's pretty great.
I will say this, that I love his live shows, the evenings with Kevin Smith, if you will. I think he's a fantastic storyteller, and I think sometimes these stories are 15, 20 minutes long, but he constantly keeps you engaged with the stories. And as somebody who likes to spin a yarn or two from time to time, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, his story about John Peters wanting a giant spider in Superman is like the stuff of Hollywood legend. Like, I mean, that is a legendary story.
Yeah, I love the story he tells about when he was working on Live Free or Die Hard, and just that was back when him and Bruce still got along. That if you look, that story was told before they did Cop Out, and they famously have had a pretty fractured relationship since Cop Out, which that might be my least favorite of the Kevin Smith films. Paul said, I watched a couple weekends ago, and I felt like it was just to remember how good the first Jay and Silent Bob movie was. I want to say something about that. I saw Jay and Silent Bob in the theater, and I was the right age when that movie came out. Was that 2001, early 2001 when that came out?
Somewhere around 2001, 2002, somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, so I would have been 22, 23 years old at the time, and I mean, that movie hit all the right notes for me. I have subsequently tried to revisit that film, and it doesn't hit me the way it did 20 years ago.
Well, part of it is some of the stuff that really cracked me up was because I was the same, right? And so and I was also deep into Scream, and Good Will Hunting was one of my favorite movies, and Dawson's Creek I watched every single week. And so the fact that they're doing Goodwill Hunting 2 hunting season, and James Vanderbeek shows up, and there's the crossover with Scream 3. Like, but so much of that is just such a product of the time. We mentioned last live stream about Zucker, and Abrams, and I feel like that's part of why Airplane and Top Secret still work as well as they do. But some of the later ones of those, like Scary Movie, don't work as well now because they were so specific to a time.
Yeah.
And Jay and Silent Bob kind of feels like that. It was so specific to that time. And so we've had some mixed reviews here. Cinema Recall, Jason says it was like, remember how good Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back was. Paul says they're just a little too old to be doing Jay and Silent Bob anymore. That sounds reasonable.
Let's see. Kay Rodriguez asked what we were talking about on Prime. We were talking about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie is available on Prime. Jason says James Vanderbeek's best role was in Rules of Attraction.
Disagree. Mm-hmm. James Vanderbeek's best role was 100% Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, where he plays a absolutely terrible version of himself. If you haven't watched that show, I think it's on Hulu. It's absolutely worth it.
Let's see. Now, Kay Rodriguez is just calling us out left and right. She says, no love for Jersey Girl, no love for Tusk.
Sorry, go ahead, Dana.
No. Jersey Girl's fine. Tusk, I can't wait. Okay, now she's crossing the line. She said no love for Varsity Blues. You're gonna get me going on the football movies, aren't you?
Okay, so let me give Dana a chance to calm down. No love for Jersey Girl. Jersey Girl's fine. I like it fine. No love for Tusk. No, I have no love for Tusk. No love for Varsity Blues. I love Varsity Blues more than life itself. That movie is like heroin to me. So I have plenty of love for Varsity Blues. But Cinema Recall just said I meant movie roles. Okay, I'll grant you that. I think as much as I love Varsity Blues, I think Rules of Attraction was probably his best movie role.
The thing with Varsity Blues is I think it'd be better if it was a self-aware high school football movie, but it basically checks off every cliche known to man when it comes to the high school football movie, and they play it so serious. And I just think that was at the time when we were getting more serious football films coming out, and it didn't work for me. And I've tried a few times, and boy, Jon Voight, he might have been the best part of that movie. But other than that,
you and I need to watch Varsity Blues together, because I think if we watch it together, the love that I have for it emanating off my aura will sweep you up. Because, I mean, first of all, it's got Vanderbeek saying, I don't want your life. On top of that, like, it's got my boy, Paul Walker, in, like, one of the best Paul Walker roles. So, yeah, I'm sorry. You need to watch it with me, man. We need to meet in, like, where's the middle of the country between us? Omaha? No, that's not that. Oklahoma City. We'll meet in Oklahoma City, rent out a theater, and watch Varsity Blues. And you will be converted, I promise.
You know, it's interesting. I was telling Angie the other day that we need to watch Not Another Teen Movie, because we got on the discussion about teen movies of the 1990s. And I said, but there's Not Another Teen Movie lampoons so many of those movies, including Varsity Blues. I think it's hilarious. And Angie just says, come on, Dana, who doesn't like Ali Lauder in a whipped cream bikini? Granted, that was a very interesting scene in the movie.
Although you do get in Not Another Teen Movie Chris Evans in a whipped cream bikini, which,
that's
depending
correct
on your persuasion, might be far better. Frankly, for me, I'll take either one of them. They're both incredibly attractive people.
So let's see. But let's see. K. Rodriguez says Ali Lauder in anything. Let's see.
Danny says that she didn't realize that Kevin Smith had involvement with CW. Yeah, he's directed several of the CW superhero shows, and has done a pretty good job of them. They're actually giving him some of the heavier episodes because he does character stuff so well, and he's pointed out that the special effects stuff is that self that works on its own, so he doesn't really have to do much with it.
Well, Jason asked an interesting question. Mike and Dana, what are other movies you find difficult to re-watch? Well, there's a few types of movies that I will refuse to watch. Splatter horror being one of them. There are certain movies that I think are that just take so much out of you emotionally that it's hard to go back and watch them again. Off the top of my head, I think of a film like The Pianist, which was an incredible film, but I don't ever want to revisit it again because it just tore me to pieces. I'd really have to spend a few more minutes thinking about that, Jason. But Mike?
And Jason just asked us to call him Vern, which is actually how I know him. So we'll do that. Jason's too formal.
Okay, Vern. Okay.
Vern has a, if I remember correctly, I can't remember if it's Killer or Hard Boiled, but it's a John Woo shirt that I am forever jealous of. I always have one go-to answer for this. It's Requiem for a Dream. I saw Requiem for a Dream in the theater. That movie is burned into my brain. I've seen it one other time in my entire life. I could still tell you every single thing that happens in that movie. I have no interest in ever watching it again as long as I live. Jared Leto shooting up into his gangrenous heroin wound in the car is a scene I never need to see in my life again.
I watched that movie one time, and I never want to watch it again. Period. So that's a perfect one. That was one of those movies, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Like I'm going to ask this question: why? Why? That's what I want to know. What was Aronofsky just like? What was his motivations? I mean, I know he's had a complex career over the years, but what was he? I don't know. What was he trying to accomplish with that film? I really need someone to kind of break that down for me.
Well, and so Vern said he watched that with his dad. I saw it with my dad, too, in the theater. I think what he was trying to, it's interesting because it and Trainspotting came out within a couple of years of one another. And in Trainspotting, I loved because it was one of the first movies about drug addiction that really addressed the fact that drugs are a lot of fun. I mean, people who deal with addiction don't get addicted because stuff sucks, right? Like that's but I liked that Requiem for a Dream. What I will always remember that Aronofsky did so well in Requiem for a Dream was the montages, the big eyelid, or big eye iris stuff like that, of the sort of like the rush, but then also the horror of what you were dealing with. I think Requiem for a Dream is a perfect movie. It's just a perfect movie that I never, ever need to see again. Danny pointed out it has a beautiful score. Clint Mansell, I'm a diehard Pop Will Eat Itself fan. If you've all have younger folk, if you've never listened to PWEI, you're missing out on one of the great bands of all time. And then the fact that he moved into a great film score composer is amazing. It has a phenomenal score.
Let's see here. Paul said that he agrees. Dana, I agree, Dana. Gore, torture porn, just nothing for me. No, I'm going to just second that. And look, I'll just go out on a limb. Like, I don't watch splatter horror. I don't watch trauma films. I made the mistake of watching one of those one time, and I'll never see it again. I'll never watch another one again. But these are, again, personal preferences.
I want to address one thing that Kay says. I didn't say because life sucks. I says because it sucks. People don't get addicted to drugs because drugs suck. They get addicted to drugs because drugs are fun. People aren't alcoholics because drinking sucks. Um, I am a former smoker. I did not start smoking because smoking sucked. The very first cigarette I ever had was like the mothership calling me home. Life sucks. That's probably why you use substances. Certainly for me, that was true. But the substances themselves were a lot of fun until the badness hits. And that is where I think Requiem for a Dream really hits, because somebody pointed out too, it was Vern, that it was about the dangers of all addictions, right? TV, hope, anything that can addict us uh, is what Aronofsky's trying to hit us with in
Yeah,
Requiem
fair
for a
enough.
Dream.
Yeah, I'm fair enough. I'll buy that. Absolutely. Carmelita said I watch Leaving Las Vegas once a year, but something about Requiem.
And Carmelita, you recommended Leaving Las Vegas on the podcast, and I kind of said the same thing about that one. I feel, for me, that and Requiem are sort of in the same boat of I don't really ever need to see those movies again. And they're both fantastic. Folks, if you haven't seen them, uh, buckle up and watch them because they are life-changing movies.
Um, before K. Rodriguez asked, no love for Less Than Zero. But before that, I want to ask if anybody saw the sequel to Train Spotting, because I have not seen that. I'm wondering if that's worth a watch.
I haven't
Mike, have you
seen
seen
it.
it? No.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I own it. It's funny. It's sitting on my shelf. I can look over and it's sitting on my shelf, but I haven't watched it yet.
Less Than Zero, is that Bret Easton Ellis?
Yeah, so Bret Easton Ellis, the movie is with Andrew McCarthy, Robert Downey Jr. Um but yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. The Vern said, I can't lie. Both are tough movies to watch. Amateur Mike, he said I did an episode on it. Mike, when you said an episode on it, which movie are you talking about? Danny said, didn't know Train Spotting had a sequel. It did. It just kind of came and went. Now, I don't even know. Was that a Danny Boyle film?
Yep. Danny Boyle, all the original cast. And the script was by, drawing a blank on his name, but the guy that wrote Train Spotting. So I mean, it's a canon sequel, because he had written a couple of books, Porno and a couple of others, but he also wrote the screenplay for T2.
Okay. Mike said T2, referring to Train Spotting 2. I think as a Train Spotting fan, yes, the story has an interesting take on growing older and midlife crisis. The Vern says the book is way better, referring to Less Than Zero. Let's see. Carmelita said, haven't seen Train Spotting 2, but I've read the book. Mike says, however, it relies super heavy on the past film. A lot of, okay. Let's see.
So let me address, if it's okay, let me address a couple of these other ones. So Drugstore Cowboy, great. Gus Van Sant movie, absolutely fantastic. Less Than Zero, I actually like the movie a little better than the book because I hate all things Bret Easton Ellis. That's probably going to upset some people, but I can't stand his writing or him. Bright Lights, Big City is a good movie, also a far better book. And for those who've never read the book, one of the only books I've ever read that's in second person. Have you ever read Bright Lights, Big City, Dana?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever read any Jay McInerney books?
Nope.
So Jay McInerney is what Bret Easton Ellis wishes he could be on his best day. Jay McInerney is just absolutely a fantastic writer and addresses a lot of the same stuff. Bright Lights, Big City, the book, is written in second person. So you wake up and go to your job, and it totally works for that. The movie works. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but that Michael J. Fox was actually kind of miscast, and I love Michael J. Fox, but the movie still is good. I own the movie. I actually just bought it. It's over there. I just bought it a while ago because MVD put it out. But read the book of Bright Lights, Big City.
Yeah, no, that sounds really. I don't think I've ever read a book like that
I
in that form.
I haven't either. That's the only other one that I've ever read, or that's the only book I've ever read that's in second person, other than like Choose Your Own Adventures, right? Like, who
Yeah.
does a big, serious, like 80s drug drama in Choose Your Own Adventure style? But Jay McInerney did.
Um, Paul said Paul said Bully is a hard movie for me to rewatch. We actually just talked about that on the episode that came out today on our Terminator 3 episode when we were talking about the career of Nick Stahl. Yeah, Bully is a movie I've actually seen it twice. Well, one and a half, because the first time I saw it, I came upon it on HBO or Cinemax at 2 o'clock in the morning and missed like the first 15 minutes. So I did go back and rewatch it eventually. Actually saw like the last or missed like the first 20 minutes, then got the book. This is actually purposely went to Barnes and Noble and bought the book and read it. Then went back and rewatched the movie. And it is, yeah, it's definitely a hard movie to rewatch. I'm glad I saw it, but I won't have no plans to sit through it again.
No, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Larry Clark movie, or for that matter, a Harmony Korine movie more than once. Um, I think Bully is the best of all of them, but I never need to see it again. The one thing I will shout out. We didn't shout out this in the Terminator 3 episode. Rachel Miner, Macaulay Culkin's former ex, in Bully is absolutely terrific. She is. We talked about Brad Renfro and Nick Stahl, but she is also unbelievably good in that movie.
Yeah. Let's see here. I want to go back for a second here. There was another question I wanted to address. I might have missed it here. Oh, Mike from Amateur Outdoors asked about Lars von Trier. I am not. I have not fully invested in his filmography. The only Lars von Trier film that I have actually watched from start to finish would be Melancholia. All the other films, for one reason or another, have just never hit me from like, I really need to watch this one. So I'll defer to Mike Scott on Lars von Trier. Oh, but I will say, I thought Melancholia was a beautifully shot film, and I thought it had me captivated the entire time I was watching it.
Before I answer that, Mike Gallagher has also been dropping some great information about Trainspotting 2, like why it's called T2 and stuff like that. So all of you, please make sure to check the chat, because he's dropping some really good information on that. I don't like Lars von Trier. First of all, I hate Dogma 95, which he started. I hate his idea of shock for shock's sake. I can respect him, I guess, as a filmmaker, but he is not for me. If you're coming to me with Lars von Trier, I'm not the guy to talk to about him. I'll put it that way. There are plenty of people who love Lars von Trier. I am not the guy to talk to about Lars von Trier.
Yeah, and I'm just not well versed in his filmography whatsoever. But apparently a few people in the chat are. So I see a few people going Nymphomaniac, which I have not seen. So
I thought Dogville was probably the closest that he came to a movie that I actually liked. Some people have mentioned Dancer in the Dark. I actually think Breaking the Waves is the one movie of his that I can legitimately say I think is a great movie, and it's an unpleasant movie, so I can't say I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
You know, you mentioned Harmony Korine there for a moment, because that would represent another filmmaker whose movies I've only seen a couple of them, and not something I want to revisit. I did see Spring Breakers in the theater, and so I was the one person in America that saw it, and that movie was bizarre, but it wasn't. Like a couple of Harmony Korine movies, I think are just so difficult to watch. This one the dialogue was obviously very intense, but it wasn't as intense as some of his other films.
Yeah, I mean, Kids is the perfect storm, right? That's the Harmony Korine, Larry Clark team up. And because if I'm not mistaken, and people can correct me, I'm pretty sure Harmony Korine wrote Bully as well, but I could be wrong. Um, and so then, yeah, when he transferred over to his own movies, I feel like as a mentor, perhaps Larry Clark was not the right mentor for him. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't love either one of them. It, let's see who. So no, Harmony Korine did not write Bully. I am incorrect on that. He did write. I'm going to throw this out to people out there. Has anybody seen Ken Park?
No, I know what you're talking about. No, I am. Look, I saw Kid. Quick story time, if you will. When I was in high school, I came down like many people in high school. I came down with mono. It happens, and I remember that was a pretty rough couple of weeks. My mom was a doctor, is a doctor, and she had told me, look, you got to stay home for 2 weeks, and she would go to Blockbuster every day for me and get movies. And at the time, Kids was like all the rage as far as it was incredibly controversial. And I said to mom, as a 17-year-old, can you rent that for me? And I was laid up on the couch, in terrible pain. And I put that on and she watched it with me. And that was one of the most uncomfortable viewing experiences of my life.
Yeah. So we've had several comments. So first of all, Kay asked if anybody had seen Europa. I've seen Europa. Europa is fine. That if you've got to start with some Lars von Trier, Europa is okay.
I just want to answer something. Vern said, "How could Blockbuster have kids?" I'm not even 100% sure it was Blockbuster. It was whatever video store that it was at the time. I'm just, for story's sake, I believe it might. You're right. It wasn't Blockbuster. That was an NC-17 movie.
As the guy who worked at Blockbuster, I can tell you there was a Blockbuster-friendly version of Kids. Blockbuster always they were so big at the time that they got their own versions of movies. They're kind of like Walmart now. Walmart gets their own versions of movies that they can sell. But I do want to say Ken Park was never released in the US. You can get it through other venues. I will never advocate alternative methods of acquiring movies, but it's the perfect storm of what Larry Clark and Harmony Korine were working towards, and I mean that in the worst possible way. Mike Gallagher just brought up Spooky Rice. He and I talked about Spooky Rice on a video or a podcast that he and I did together. And I will tell you, he introduced me to Spooky Rice, and I friggin' love Spooky Rice. Spooky Rice is a YouTube channel. Just search Spooky Rice. He watches all these horrible, awful, fucked up movies so that we don't have to. And he does very thorough breakdowns of what is like one of the weirdest, obscure movies that I had always wanted to see was a movie called The Bunny Game. And he did such a good breakdown on The Bunny Game that I didn't have to subject myself to having The Bunny Game in my head. And to quote our friend Patrick Bromley, sometimes you don't want those memories in your head. And so Spooky Rice does that for you. So there we go.
All right. So Kay Rodriguez says, you guys are being so niche right now. So let me shift gears for a little bit more. Mike, what's your most anticipated movie of 2020? Let's pretend that we live in a world where movies are going to be theatrically released, and that we're all going to enjoy popcorn and soda and sitting in the movie theater. What is your most anticipated film of 2020? And I'll allow you to be retroactive if you've already seen that movie this year.
I have not already seen that movie this year. It was Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay, all right. Mine is Maverick Top Gun.
Yep.
So I will send it over to everyone in the chat. What is your most anticipated film of 2020? And if there is, what's everybody watching right now? That's what I'd like to know. I mentioned earlier I watched Operation Odessa, which is just a crazy documentary. It's a true crime documentary. It's really in the spirit of Cocaine Cowboys. So if you liked if you're a big fan of Cocaine Cowboys, Operation Odessa is right up your alley. It's fantastic. It's actually by the same guy that did the 7-5.
Okay. Which
Incredible
is why
documentary.
Ken recommended it to you.
Yes, absolutely. So let's see. Carmelita said Candyman is her most anticipated film. Kay Rodriguez said No Time to Die. The Vern said Promising Young Woman is my most anticipated movie.
Mike said Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan one. He and I might still be okay because Tenet and Wonder Woman 1984 are still on they're still on the slate. They might still come out.
Tenet gave me the trailer for Tenet gave me anxiety. The thing about Nolan films is, you got to put your thinking cap on when you go sit down and watch those. They are not mindless cinema, I can tell you that.
Yep, that is true. So Kay just asked if Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's not out on DVD or Blu-ray, but if you have, it's coming out from Criterion. But if you have Amazon Prime, it is streaming for free on Amazon Prime.
Okay, Mike says West Side Story. That's the new Spielberg film. Kay Rodriguez says, you think Maverick will be any good, Dana Buckler? Let me tell you something. I'm going through a monumental shift lately, and I want to just let everybody know, like, when I watched American Ninja and American Ninja 2 on Saturday, I had a smile on my face ear to ear. I was just enjoying the hell out of those two movies. They were just awesome. So I just love these kind of like action films. So do I think Maverick's going to be any good? Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Even if the story is a little bit whatever, just the I think the visuals of that movie are going to be enough to make me want to see it over and over again. Mike?
Yeah, I think that first of all, it's Joseph Kosinski, who is a he's a very visually interesting director. I don't think Tron Legacy and Oblivion entirely worked as movies, but he is such a visually interesting director that I think, if nothing else, it is a movie that is going to be required to be seen in the theater. And I apologize, folks. I've got 2-factor authentication set up on one website that I'm trying to research on. So if you're wondering why I'm looking down, that's why. I also think that, for whatever it's worth, Tom Cruise does not pick bad movies for the most part. I'm going to really emphasize for the most part because I know we're going to get a bunch of friggin' comments of like, well, what about this and what about this? Like, for the most part, he doesn't star in bad movies. And so if he's willing after all this time to do a second Top Gun, I think there's got to be something there.
Yeah, this is not somebody trying to like we made the case that Arnold was kind of going back to the well in 2003 when he agreed to do another Terminator film because he had unsuccessful movie after unsuccessful movie. Like, Tom Cruise is arguably the biggest box office draw in the world. I mean, and a lot of his movies are excellent. Like, those last 3 Mission Impossible films have been phenomenal. He doesn't need to do this to reinvigorate his career. Like, this is, so I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one, Mike. That's a very good point you made.
I do just want to address, Vern said it's Hulu that Portrait of a Lady on Fire is on. It is, but it is also on Amazon Prime now. Hulu had an exclusive for a minute, but I am literally watching it on Amazon Prime just to make sure it works. So But Hulu or Amazon Prime works.
I
Vern,
want.
sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry. No, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. Go ahead.
Vern also said that Jennifer Connelly will get him to see Top Gun 2. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's not a movie I wouldn't go see with Jennifer Connelly in it.
I'm going to go back to Paul Lytle real quick when he said it's going to be so bad. Paul, are you referring to the new Top Gun? I'm just curious because I'm going to call him after we're done with this live stream. Have a little conversation with him because I don't think we have ever talked. What's everybody's thoughts on the original Top Gun? I rewatched that, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago. I just think it's a lot of fun. I'll make the case that I enjoy our Iron Eagle more than Top Gun, but that's for whatever crazy reason. Mike?
I'm a Top Gun guy more than an Iron Eagle guy. Although I have to admit, if strapped into a chair, buzzing saw to my head, I actually probably enjoy Iron Eagle 2 more than any of them. I the love I have for Iron Eagle 2 is it's high. It's a high love for that movie.
Paul said that he is referring to the Top Gun sequel. He said I love Top Gun, don't get me wrong. Well, I'm just curious, like just the trailer it was just incredible. I'd be curious, honestly, Paul, to know why you don't think it's going to be good.
Well, especially because it's Miles Teller and Jennifer Connelly and Glenn, the dude from Everybody Wants Some. Like the cast in the movie is phenomenal.
Ed Harris?
Yeah, the cast in the movie is fantastic.
Let's see. K. Rodriguez says, yeah, Top Gun, baby, not Iron Eagle. So not the same thing. I feel the need. Carmelita said, I still love Top Gun. Danny says, I saw Top Gun for the first time a few months ago. It was not a bad flick, not my personal cup of tea, but it was better than I anticipated. Mike, can we get back to this Iron Eagle 2 thing real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. What is it about that film over the first one?
The Russia, U.S. coming together and forming the team, the scene where they all rip off their national flags and throw them down before they go on the final mission at the end gets to me every single time. And then, frankly, they rip off Star Wars at the end. And so, like, you've got a pretty terrific if you're going to rip off something, rip off the best, right? You've got a pretty terrific climax there where they're flying through this narrow canyon and they have to shoot a missile through a very narrow point. So, yeah, sorry, man. I like Iron Eagle 2.
No, that's fine. No, listen, that's great. I don't dislike the movie. I have a lot of fun with it. I think the first one is just a masterpiece for all the wrong reasons. I love it. K. Rodriguez says Doug Masters a better fighter pilot than Maverick. Well, I don't know. There's a bit of an age discrepancy between the two. Doug Masters is still in high school, so maybe by the time he gets to Maverick's, age that he is in Top Gun, that's a possibility. And plus, they're flying two different types of aircraft. Doug Masters is only, trained on an F-16, and who knows what Maverick's trained on? That's a very tough question. That would have to, take a serious breakdown.
And in fairness, I've also seen Iron Eagle 4 where Doug Masters comes back and
yes.
No, Maverick's better.
Paul says, please name off the sequels we've waited 20 plus years for that you have been happy with. Okay, I got to think about that for a second. Obviously, Fury Road.
Yep.
That's an example.
That's number one.
That's absolutely number one. The Vern said that Blade Runner 2049.
I would agree with that. I actually, as I've said before, I think Blade Runner 2049 is better than Blade Runner.
Mike asked a good question. What is your favorite trailer of all time? Could include teasers. Ooh.
I've actually got an immediate answer to this. Hard Target. The Hard Target trailer is the greatest trailer that's ever been made because, first of all, it uses Born on the Bayou as the backing soundtrack. Secondly, it sets it up with a great narrator. I can't remember if it's Peter Cullen or whoever it is, but a great setup of, people are being hunted in New Orleans. And for those who haven't seen Hard Target, uh, Jean-Claude Van Damme's character's name is Chance Boudreaux. And the narrator says at a point, there's a great scene in the movie where these tubs are being moved by a crane and Van Damme's just standing there. And it says, the narrator says, but now the opposition's being given one last chance. Hard Target is the greatest movie trailer that has ever been made. There will never be another movie trailer that can compete.
I will say that if the rule of this answering this question is the greatest trailer that I ever experienced, doesn't necessarily have to mean that it was the greatest film I've ever experienced. There will be nothing that tops seeing the trailer for The Phantom Menace in 1998 in the theater. The promise and the wonder that trailer, presented to us was, I remember just being over the moon about that. And so that was probably the greatest trailer that I've ever seen.
And that's a great trailer. The Phantom Menace trailer, the teaser is a great trailer. That is everything that a trailer, whether you're anticipating it or not, that is everything. And I will actually say, the Indiana Jones, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull initial teaser trailer is also absolutely fantastic for that same reason.
Can we talk real quick about trailers spoiling things? That's going to become a theme over the next few episodes of the Terminator retrospective that you and I are doing, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is always, like, go back and watch some 1930s trailers. They spoiled the shit. Like, trailers have always... It wasn't until the 90s that people were hung up on trailers spoiling stuff. And so for me, I don't have a problem with trailers spoiling stuff, but I know you don't actually... you and I don't see eye to eye on that.
I just see missed opportunities. I mean, I just think... I look back to the Terminator 2 marketing campaign, and we've discussed it already. I just see it as a missed opportunity that they could have, kept it a secret that Arnold was going to be the good guy in that one. Let's see here. I had something else I was going to ask you. No, it's yeah, I remember. Whatever happened? When did we stop with the trailer narration? The in a world. When did that stop? That was like what, 15 years ago?
It stopped when we actually had when the In a World guy Paul LaFontaine.
I think so.
It stopped when he died. Okay. That was pretty much. Have you ever seen, Dana, the movie In a World with Lake Bell that also co-stars him?
No, I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's actually a really good movie. She becomes like a trailer voiceover person. It's a really delightful, fun little movie. If anybody's seen it, In a World, let Dana know so that he will watch it.
No, that's awesome. Mike says early 2000s. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
I miss the trailer narration. That was something I loved.
Yeah, The narration was great. Vern just said that's a really good movie, In a World. Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, it's a little indie movie. It's not gonna change your life, but it's a really fun little movie.
Well, I think the problem, and I'm just thinking this in real time, so I could be incorrect, but since we took the trailer narration away, I feel like the trailers have to show us more so we understand what the story is about. Where if we brought back trailer narration, you could have less of the good stuff in the trail. Like you could hold back some stuff, I think. And just me thinking in real time about this.
Kay Rodriguez just asked Hal Douglas. No, it's Don LaFontaine. I just remembered his first name, Don LaFontaine. He's very much the In a World guy. But yeah, like yeah, I kind of agree with you. You know, if you watch 1930s trailers or even like 70s trailers, they showed you everything, but they did it in a way that you didn't Danny's got to go. Thank you, Danny.
Bye, Danny.
Always a delight to have you join us. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Danny.
Um, but they showed you everything in a way that you didn't feel necessarily like you were seeing everything. And I think that's maybe what people are complaining about. Although I will say the way spoiler freaks are now, like people on Twitter who are like, spoiler, I'm like, really? Like, stay the fuck off social media if you can't. Like, sometimes you can't talk about a movie without oh, let me talk about Avengers Endgame. Guess what? The Avengers come back. That's not a fucking spoiler. The Avengers come back, you know. Um, eh,
Oh, I have a question now. I'm going to segue off of what you just said about the Avengers because I want to pose this to you and to the group as somebody who's not. Look, I respect the Marvel films. I think we've established this. Um, but as somebody who's not like all in and fully invested, my question I pose to you, Mike, and to everybody watching is, can Marvel accomplish what they accomplished in the first 10 years this time around with a new cast of characters and new story? I mean, the whole night. Can they recapture that magic, Mike?
no, but I don't think they're trying to.
Okay.
Um, if you look at the decisions they're making and the things they're doing, they're not trying to. Because I think even they like look, say what you will about the Marvel movies. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing, and he's not trying to recapture that. He knows he caught lightning in a bottle, and he's never going to try and capture that again.
Yeah. Well, I had Peter Winther on, and his brother is one of the producers for the Marvel films, and he was telling me that Feige and them, they had a plan up till the 2012 Avengers. Like they had all those movies mapped out. And once that Avengers movie came out, like they were going to keep going, but then they had to kind of readjust the roadmap because they knew what they had on their hands. And I'm going to borrow something I saw in one of the Patrick Willem videos that just came out, where he talks about how, Marvel doesn't subvert expectations. They give Marvel fans exactly what they want. And he was comparing it to Star Wars as far as, you know, at least with Marvel, they knew exactly what they were doing. So I feel like they know exactly what the plan is for at least the next 5 to 8 years. But yeah, I was curious, Mike, to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, but they're not going to be able to catch that zeitgeist, if you will. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to matter, right? Like, okay, Avengers Endgame was all about Chris Evans and Robert Downey and Scarlett Johansson, teaming up. Are people telling me that if it's Chadwick Boseman and Benedict Cumberbatch and uh all of the sort of second, the new wave, we're not going to show up? We're still going to show up. It's just they're not going to be able to capture that like thing. It'll still be an event. It'll still be every new major Marvel team up is still going to be the biggest movie of all time, but it's not going to have the same vibe, if that makes sense.
What's going to be the big tie-in movie every 3 years? Because you get Iron Man in 2008, Iron Man, Hulk, go through the list, and then you get in 2012 you get the Avengers, and then in 2015 you get Age of Ultron, and then 3 years later you get Infinity War. What is going to be the big movie every 3 years? That's what I want to know.
I think they're going to do something different by not do everything I've seen says they're not going to do the big movie every 3 years. That is how they're going to change it up. And so what I expect is you will start, so a perfect example is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is supposed to have him and Scarlet Witch in it, you're gonna see more of those team ups. Paul just said, "Come on, most of the Avengers were B-listers." I agree.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm look again. I can't. It's all DC stuff behind me because my Marvel shelf is over here. Like I ain't and Mike Gallagher says Iron Man wasn't an A-lister or Hulk. No,
No.
they weren't.
Uh-uh.
At least at that time, they were not. But what we're talking about is the heretofore unheard of combination. The Avengers had never happened before. Infinity War, and then when that happened, Infinity War and Endgame had never happened before. And so what Dana is asking is, how do you top that? And what I'm saying is, I don't think they're trying to. I think they know they caught lightning in a bottle and they're never going to try and top that again. Because if nothing else, they saw what Rise of Skywalker looked like when you tried to top, go bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, I think they're going to go in a different direction.
Well, I just think with the Star Wars, and it's so abundantly clear now that there was no roadmap for those 3 new saga films. There was not a hashed out plan. Whereas Marvel, which is under the same umbrella, they have a hashed out plan, and I have a lot more respect for that.
Well, because if nothing else, Marvel has an entire history of sequential storytelling to fall back on. Paul just said, bring in Doctor Doom, right? I mean, John Krasinski's been talking about taking a meeting with Marvel because fan casting wants him and Emily Blunt to be Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm. Look, like Marvel just got, for whether it's good or bad, Marvel just got all the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four back. It's a whole new world here. You want to do something big, Dana? Avengers versus X-Men, which was a big crossover from a few years ago. Imagine Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen and Mark Ruffalo and Chadwick Boseman over here with whoever they decide to cast as the new X-Men over here, having a big crossover battle, and then they have to team up and fight whatever, Annihilus or whoever. That's a big fucking movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. Excellent. All right, well, Mike, I'm gonna. You good to wrap this up, or you?
Yeah, no, I'm good to wrap this up. One thing I do want to talk about really quick, if you can bear with me for just a couple of minutes.
Absolutely.
Vern has been talking about A24 and their trailers. Back to our trailer conversation. I'm curious to what he would have to say about this. Vern, you're right. A24 has good trailers, except how many A24 horror movies have had F or D plus or D cinema scores? It Comes at Night, F cinema score. Hereditary, D cinema score. So, like, this is the thing that I say when people are like, trailers give away too much. The general audience, the people who pay tickets, who pay money to go to movies, they want trailers to give away stuff because that's how they get interested. They get really mad when they see It Comes at Night and they're expecting some like demon or mutant movie and it turns out it's a virus.
Yeah.
Well, Vern's just said a few, but I'm talking about the trailers. Yeah, but that's the problem. If the trailer's good and the audience still gives the movie an F, my point is the trailer's not good. The trailer should, a point of a trailer is to entice an audience to go see a movie.
Yeah, but no. So, but what if it entices them to see it, but then the trailer completely misrepresents what the movie's about? Is that the argument you're
Yeah,
making?
and Vern says that's the audience's fault. I disagree. That's the marketing fault. And Vern, I don't want to get into this. Like, DM me. We follow each other on Twitter, or shit. Give me a call. Like, you can find me on. I'm Hibachi Justice on Skype. Give me a call. We can talk about this. But I disagree. That's not the audience's fault. A trailer is supposed to. It's marketing, and if the audience misunderstands what the movie's supposed to be, then the marketing failed.
There you go. You should do his show. He just said we should do a show. Okay, Vern, Mike, you guys would have a great conversation. I did.
Yeah, I would.
I've done a show before. It's a lot of fun.
I would do that show in a heartbeat. And I do also want to shout out Mike Gallagher way back when mentioned the Lighthouse, which is awesome. And if you have not watched The Lighthouse yet, please watch The Lighthouse. And Mike's right. Kay Rodriguez just asked, Hereditary's on Prime. So you can see it for free on Prime. But The
Awesome.
Lighthouse is a absolutely fantastic movie.
Well, perfect. All right. Well, guys, listen, before we go, I just want to say thank you again for watching. You know, Mike and I just shoot the shit about movies, and we love that you guys get involved with all the questions. It's awesome. For just to keep you updated, we did release Terminator 3 today. That's on the main podcast feed. I recorded an episode with Carmelita yesterday. That will be out tomorrow. Mike and I have already recorded an episode on Terminator Salvation, which that was a very interesting conversation. I think without showing our cards, I think you and I unanimously agreed on the film. That's one thing we can say.
We sure
We're not going to say which way we agreed, but we unanimously agreed on it.
I think it's fair to say we've unanimously agreed on every Terminator movie so far that we've talked about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Paul says he's so far behind on the podcast. Well, Paul, listen, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Terminator episodes. We've been having a lot of fun doing those. Vern says, thank you, Mike and Dana. Thank you. Kay Rodriguez, thank you for always being on the show.
Yeah, thank
Carmelita,
you for
Danny.
everybody who's joined us and supported us. Dana's got a shit ton of fans. I do not. And so everybody that supported me, I love it. Thank you guys so much.
We've been having a good time. Thank you, guys. Mike, it's always a pleasure. And we're going to set up recording Terminator Genesis in the next few days. That's going to be exciting.
Jai Courtney. I am going to have a lot of things to say about Jai Courtney.
And now, I want to just pose this to the people that are still watching this, and we'll put it out on Twitter. We're having a great time doing this Terminator one, and I know that we're going to do other franchises, so I would be very curious to hear what other people are thinking. Like, Mike, I'm thinking already out of the box. I'm thinking Die Hard. You know, there's a few movies that franchises that I think would warrant a conversation.
It's funny you mentioned Die Hard, which I would be totally down to. The first one I thought of was Fast and Furious, because I would absolutely love to do a Fast and Furious. Kay Rodriguez of Final Destination could totally do that. But
yeah. The Vern says Jaws. Kay Rodriguez says Nightmare on Elm Street. Kay, go back to, I want to say, summer of 2018. I did a 2-part series on the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise with Kelly Goodner. She's a fantastic screenwriter. She wrote some really good books on horror movies. She was also featured on my Exorcist episode. We did a 2-part, 3-hour breakdown of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise where I share a lot of my thoughts. I would be down for doing Jaws, Mike. You can count me in. Fast and Furious for me, that would be tough. That would be tough for me.
Why? Boy. Because they're good. They're good, dude. Have you seen Fast 5?
Yes, I did see Fast 5. A lot of fun.
Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. That's the thing is, I'm going through this shift right now. I'm going through this shift because I can sit here and tell you I had a hell of a good time watching American Ninja the other night.
Yeah.
You know, so you're right. I'm going through this shift. Monumental shift.
Trust in the Mikey. Have I ever let you astray?
No, not once.
Yeah, trust.
Okay. All right. And on that note,
I think that's a
okay,
good time to wrap it up.
we'll wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Hope everyone's staying safe.
Stay safe. We love you all. Everybody have a good night.